Okay, so extremist phase. So international influences and events demolished the might of European supremacy. So it was not only that the company was ruling in India. Some other countries were also there in which the Britishers, or you can say company, was also ruling, and everywhere the people were against of it, that it's ruling. Right. So it was, you can consider in almost in all these countries there had been different kinds of uh, revolts against the British. Right. So this was the one of the reason that in the world, if everyone at a time, right, or all at a time, if they could revolt, then probably it would be overthrowing the British rule. Right. There had been the dissatisfaction. Another point. There had been dissatisfaction with the achievement of the moderates. Right. So already extremists were saying moderates as beggar. Right. So they are begging for the independence, and they do not understand the difference between begging and claiming the rights. Likewise, right, this was the thinking of the extremists. So they were dissatisfied with their achievement. Then there had been reactionary policies of Curzon, right, such as the Kolkata Cooperation Act, right, then Indian University Act, as well as the Partition of Bengal, right, as well as Partition of Bengal. So these were the reactionary policies. So that had also channelized extremists, right, and then the existence of militant school of thought and emergence of a trained leadership, right. There should be this particular cause or this particular point. Unless and until we use such kind of things, probably we will not get independence, right, or we will not overthrow the British rule. So this was the thinking of the extremists, and this is the reason why the extremists have emerged, right. So reasons of emergence of extremists, right. So reasons for emergence of extremist. Emergence for extremist. I think off instead of for extremist. Right. So very first reason you can consider realization of true nature of British. And what that true nature was? It was exploitable, right? Exploitative. Right. They wanted to exploit. They wanted to take away the wealth of India, right? So exploitative nature. Second thing is the international influences. International influences and events which, just a minute. So international influence and events which demolished, right? Might, demolished the might of the white supremacy. Have you got the meaning of this particular statement? Right. So international influence and uh, some of the events which had happened in such a way that it had demolished the might, right, of white supremacy. So it had there had been a perception that the Europeans or the whites are supreme. आपण म्हणतो दंतकथा, खोट्या गोष्टी, माहित, डिमॉलिस्ड, which had म्हणजे उलथून टाकले किंवा ते पाडले. So that would be the case. So international influence and events which demolish the might of white supremacy. So that had happened worldwide in other countries. So that had also boosted the extremists in India, right? So that is only the reference. Just you can consider. I will not go in detail how other, but for example, you can consider in the Japan, right, and Russia. So again, same kind of thing had been happened against the viceroy's opinions, right? So likewise, then dissatisfaction, dissatisfaction with the achievements of moderates. So dissatisfaction with the achievements of moderates, right? Straight away, there is nothing to worry or nothing to think on it. Then reactionary policies, right? Reactionary policies of the viceroy, right? Or you can consider the governor general. For example, right? I will just write only one thing, that is partition of, because all these things we have to consider, partition of Bengal, right? Partition of Bengal. Then another point you can consider in this, that there had been existence of militant school of thought as well as the emergence of trained leadership, right? There had been the emergence of trained leadership, right? So because of that, emergence of trained leadership. Fine. So this is what you can consider as leaders in this. So very first name you must be knowing, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, known as Lokmanya Tilak, right? So his name is, the name is always there. He influenced by Agarkar, Ranade, as well as Dadabhai Nauroji, right? And he was working with them, fine. But later on, he turned to extremist. He launched 2 newspapers. Very first one is was in English. He had also organized the Ganpati festival as well as Shivaji festival. right? He was later on deported to Mandalay jail for writing seditious articles. And later on, he had started Home Rule League. In fact, it was actually or originally started by Annie Besant, but he had led that particular league. Right. He had written Gita Rahasya, right? And he always asserted Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it, right? स्वराज्य माझा जन्मसिद्ध हक्क आहे आणि ते मी मिळवणारच, right? So this is what you can consider. Here you can just only remember the leaders. Another is Lala Lajpat Rai, right, who was the extremist from Punjab, right? And he was under the influence of Arya Samaj. So he had founded national school at Lahore. He presided over the, what you can consider, okay, another point I can consider. He boycotted Simon Commission and demonstrated against Simon at Lahore, right? So in that assault by police, he succumbed injuries and subsequently, later on he died. Another leader, Bipin Chandra Pal, right, who was the Orthodox Hinduism, who discarded Orthodox Hinduism and entered into Brahmo Samaj, right? And he had visited England and America. So he founded English Weekly, right? That is named as New India. He led the Swadeshi movement. He had carried out the gospels of boycott, Swadeshi, national education, Swaraj, right, as well as the passive resistance. And he founded Vande Mataram, right? So Bipin Chandra Pal, right? Later on, it comes to Sir Arvindo Ghosh. He was he had passed ICS exam with record marks in the Greek and Latin, right? He had the European upbringing. He worked for secret societies in Bengal as well as in Maharashtra. He started Bengali daily called Jugantar, right? Bengali daily called Jugantar. He had written some seditious articles in Vande Mataram. He was put off to trial for Manik Talla, right, bomb conspiracy case. And you can consider some other extremist leaders as Chakravarti Vizi, Raghavichar, then Ashwini Kumar Datta, Raj Narayan Bose, Prakasham, Chidambaram Pillai, right, etc. And later on in next generation, right, you have Chandrasekhar Azad, right? Or you can consider, by and large, some people also think that Subhash Chandra Bose, it was also of this opinion. And obviously, the later on you can consider the Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, right? Or the team of Bhagat Singh, right? So this is what you can always consider. So what were their methods, right, of what you can consider methods to attain it, right? So they have always passive resistance, that is non-cooperation with the British government by boycotting government service, courts, schools, and colleges, right? So that was the point you can always consider. So methods of extremist. I will not write the whatever the leaders I said, right? That is only for your introduction because you will be always coming across them. So methods of the extremist, how they were, right, carrying out their operations. So methods of extremism. Very first one point, that is passive resistance. Passive resistance. So what you should understand from the passive resistance, right? So that is nothing but the non-cooperation with British government. So how they were non-cooperating? By boycotting, boycotting government service, court, schools, and colleges as well, right? So this was the very first point you can consider. And another point, at the same time they were promoting Swadeshi, by boycotting the foreign goods and promotion of Swadeshi, right? Promotion of Swadeshi and boycott of foreign goods, right? Of foreign goods. Fine. So this is what you can always consider as the way of the extremist, right? If anybody wants, you can. And now we will be considering very first point, that is the partition of Bengal. Right? Partition of Bengal. Okay, just let me know once you finish. Okay, I think fine. Thank you. Right. So now you can consider the partition of Bengal. Partition of Bengal. When did it happen? It happened in 1905. Right. Always remember this point. Now, the partition of Bengal came into effect on 16th October 1905. Right. So, on 16th October 1905. How? By royal proclamation. Right. So, through a royal proclamation. What is proclamation? Right. Proclamation, घोषणा, राईट, किंवा तुम्ही त्याला जाहीर करणे असं जाहीरपणे सांगणे असं म्हणू शकता. फाईन. सो ऑन 16th of October 1905, through a royal proclamation, the partition of Bengal had been happened. Now, in this case, what had happened? It had reduced the old Bengal province, right, by creating a new province called East Bengal, right? So now simply a Bengal and East Bengal, right? So later on the East Bengal had become East Pakistan, and presently it is called Bangladesh, right? Presently it is called the Bangladesh. So what kind of partition? Right, by creating East Bengal, right, which was later become East Pakistan, and today's Bangladesh. Partition of Bengal, right? It had condemned the partition of Bengal, right? So that is what you can always have as far as the partition of Bengal, right? So government explained, right, the reason. What is reason? To stimulate growth of underdeveloped eastern region, underdeveloped eastern region, right, of the Bengal, and that was the reason. But basic aim is the main objective was divide and rule, right? So another reason was to destroy political influence, political influence of the educated middle class, right? So to destroy political influence of the educated middle class, right? And what was the reason? What was the result of this one, right? So it set up gulf between, right, rather communal gulf between Hindus and Muslims, right? Hindus and Muslims, fine. So this is what you can consider for the partition of Bengal. And obviously, once it had happened, there will be different consequences, right? The consequences are nothing but the extremists thought in a different way, Congress thought in different way. There had been emergence of Muslim League because of the result of this, right? So in the same year, I think in 1906, there had been the INC's yearly session at Calcutta, right? So these are the consequences which you can consider, that we will consider in tomorrow's session, right? So today, if anybody wants this, you can have. Today we will stop here. Okay. Is there anyone who wants any clarification about anything what you have gone through? Okay, if not, then let's stop here. Thank you, everyone. Rushikesh sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm done with this, so I will quit the meeting.